Hi, I'm Bella. Thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited to be having this conversation with Harold from Morantz Custom Cabinetry. With decades of experience and a reputation for care, quality, and true craftsmanship, Harold has built more than just beautiful spaces. He's built real trust with his clients. Today, we are going to talk about that process, what it is look like to work with a custom cabinet maker from first ideas to final installation and everything in between. Before we jump into it, Harold, hi again, welcome. How are
Thank
you?
thank you. I'm very well. How are you?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you
Good,
so
good.
much. Let's start with discovery and vision. When someone reaches out for custom cabinetry, what is the very first thing you like to ask to them?
Well, the first thing I ask them is, what is their, like you say, what is your vision? Are you looking for? I try to define their look that they want to achieve. I also, of course, have to find out what stage of the process you're in. Sometimes people want to just refinish an existing kitchen. Most of the time, we're doing new kitchens, and we'll set up a framework of what they're looking for to make sure that I can provide it to them. I also kind of pre-qualify in terms of their budget. Today, for instance, I got a call from a client that said, I have some drawings from Lowe's and I can send them to you. Well, that was a clue right away. If it's Lowe's and I do high-end custom, are you looking for high quality? Or no, they said, no, Lowe's was too expensive. So right away, I said, there's no point us speaking because I'm going to be more expensive than Lowe's. So pre-qualification for me and the client to not waste each other's time is very, very important. And then, of course, the vision of what they are looking for. Can I make it? This is the type of product that I can make and to be able to satisfy the client.
Perfect. That's such a smart way to do it. What about homeowners who feel overwhelmed by all the options? How do you help them feel comfortable and confident?
Well, the first thing I usually request to them to do is to come to my showroom. It's by appointment because I'm in and out a great deal, but our showroom is where our shop is. So they can come in and see the actual cabinets that are being manufactured on the floor. Basically help them to zero in on the type of kitchen they're looking for and find a style that's pleasing to them. Once we do that, then we can look at colors, we can look at different materials. In terms of the overall project, they usually have a designer, but not always. And if they don't, then we go through some of the processes of what's involved. First, they've got to get a contractor, then they have to get their permitting. Do you want to change appliances from place to space? We basically define all the different aspects of what the job is going to entail, sometimes with timeframes. We often don't discuss timeframes immediately because a lot of my work is planned months in advance. So they really have to go through stages first of getting their contractor, getting their licensing, getting their permitting. But I will always advise them as we're talking on what the different timeframes are and the different steps that are going to occur in the process.
Perfect. And I'm curious, are there any misconceptions people tend to have about working with a custom cabinet maker?
Not in my experience. They are not. Once someone's coming to somebody for custom cabinetry, they are not expecting a retail store experience or a box store experience. They're expecting personalization. And most of my customers to come to me through referrals, through other clients, or they're builders and designers, and they have a good idea of what custom entails. They know that they can get pretty well anything that they want. They don't have to worry about large fillers or perhaps a color that is kind of strange. We work, we'll spray anything, any color at all. If it's a finished product, then my samples, I have thousands of different materials. So they are coming to me as a custom cabinet maker, expecting all the options.
Perfect. When it comes to design collaboration, could you please walk us through what the design process looks like at Morant's Custom Cabinetry? How involved are your clients in shaping the final version?
Well, they are very involved. Of course, it's the client's house. So we don't, my first thing is to find out what their needs are. Are you a young family with a lot of children? Is it you're an older couple and you don't need such a big space? Are your appliances going to be very high end and very big? Are they going to be paneled? There are many, many questions that I need to know from them of what they are looking for. If they already have a designer, then those questions are already answered. They're coming to me with a finished design. We often refine it because, again, the designer is thinking of something specific. And if I have some advice on something, I'm not afraid to say so. I don't, the customer is always right in the end, but if they're coming to me for custom, they should be taking some of my advice. But basically, I'm there to provide them and make them comfortable with the process, whatever it is. So young families have certain needs. An older couple has different needs. Somebody who has, for instance, maybe a partner in a wheelchair might need a dishwasher at a different level, might need a sink that they can reach under, they can roll their weird shell underneath. So each individual has different needs for that. And basically, we have to discuss those needs and plan it appropriately in the design.
It sounds like a real collaboration. I think the clients must love being part of it. You literally build the dream space together. Perfect.
Absolutely. Yes.
And what happens when someone brings you a picture from Pinterest or house? How do you approach those kind of projects?
Well, just like any other project, as a matter of fact, the more pictures and inspiration that my client has, the easier it is for me to be able to refine what they're looking for. I myself have a site on House and I have over 85 reviews, not for over 90 reviews on House already. And people very often come to me with a picture, sometimes of even one of my kitchens saying, I saw this and can we do this? Or they'll have another kitchen or my kitchen and other kitchens, or they'll have details from a magazine or things that they've Googled online saying, can we incorporate this double waste pullout? Can we incorporate spice drawers? So the more educated the client is in what they need, the easier it is for us to be able to design it. And it makes the communication much clearer and simpler.
Perfect. How do you balance the design elements like style, function, and budget when working on a project?
Sometimes they have nothing to do with each other. I have had clients that we've done massive kitchens for in brand new homes that are big enough to play soccer in with 16-foot islands. And it's only an older couple, but that's what they've been used to all their life. And they want the same thing. There may be a 48-inch Wolf gas range, or there may even be a 60-inch gas range with three ovens. And those things, sometimes two dishwashers, if they're socialites and they have lots of parties at their home for charitable events, or if they have a very, very large extended family for the holidays, they may want to have two dishwashers permanently there, even though they may only be used very occasionally. So through discussing the client's needs, we then work with the space that they have to maximize the design, assuming, of course, that a designer isn't already on the scene, then she would have already done that. Again, like I said before, even if she is, I still would come up with ideas that make improvements only because the designer's designing this job. She may have designed other jobs, but I've been building cabinets for 44 years. So I have experience and the designers appreciate that as well, by the way. They appreciate the feedback and the very often the support that I give them as well, that the design is a good one.
That's a great approach. Let's get to fabrication and craftsmanship. What would you say really makes your cabinetry stand out from factory made or semi custom options?
Well, factory made option is something that basically is usually locked into certain sizes. They don't have the flexibility that we have in terms of manufacturing. If a client has a very specific need or a very specific dimension, we can build our cabinetry, of course, to the exact length of that wall, leaving a 3/4 inch filler, not usually more than that. If there's a large door that opens up, has to open up at an end of the wall, then we might leave a 2-inch filler to allow for a large handle to not hit the wall next to it. But the design is of a custom kitchen is everything according to what the customer wants. And we've had all kinds of requests. I've had clients that want a pullout for a simple Cuisinart, which is not very heavy. The Cuisinart really you can take out and put on your counter and use it. It doesn't weigh much, a couple of pounds. Some clients have a large KitchenAid that with the hook and which might weigh 15 pounds, they have different needs for that. Some people don't need as much recycling. Some people want more recycling. Some customers, if they have a family with children, when we design a pantry, for instance, I ask them right away, do you buy your cereals at Costco? Because the Costco boxes are way taller than the ones you buy in Publix. That's a standard cereal size box, but the Costco ones are huge. I have to take that into account in the having a very large pullout for those things in the pantry. So all the things through getting to know the client and getting to know their family situation and what their desires are, we then plan the design accordingly. If you're just going into a box store, they don't care about that. They're not going to ask you, and they don't have the flexibility. When they do a pantry, there's full four pullouts, they put them at standard heights. I basically look in the customer's present kitchen and say, okay, well, you might need some tall things here, some short things there, to use a lot of canned goods. We discuss all these things. So it becomes a much more intimate relationship, and we can satisfy the customer's needs much more readily than a box store or even a semi-custom. Semi-custom is still also a mass-produced product, but it's made in larger numbers of sizes or a larger variety of colors. They won't just offer white and brown or something like that. They'll offer so semi-custom is not that different than a standard, whereas total custom is exactly that. We can do the kitchen in leather. We can do it in suede. We can lacquer. We can make it in any material at all. So the possibilities are endless.
And how do you choose materials, finishes, and construction techniques for your project? Is it always based on client input?
Not always. Our construction techniques are pretty set by our shop in terms of how we like to build cabinets. The general saying is if you ask 10 different cabinet makers how they have a drawer, everybody will give you a different reason the way they make it. So our processes have been refined over the years. We, of course, are not only looking to make a strong, beautiful product, but we want to make it profitably as well. We've picked processes in our manufacturing, which I've refined over the years to produce things faster and not, of course, losing any of the quality. A common question about that would be dovetail drawers. People ask about dovetail drawers. Dovetail drawers are very pretty, but they have very thin bottoms. And if you've got a 36-inch wide pot and pan drawer with a lot of weight, they are not as suitable as the drawers we do, which have a full 3/4 inch bottom. I often open up my drawers and I stand inside, and nothing happens to the track or the drawer. So we build according to our standards of how we construct things in the shop, but we will modify it according to what the customer's needs are. Finishes are really very ranging. If a client has a young family and they want to do something in a white painted material, we'll do it, but I will give them a caveat saying you are looking at 5, maybe 10 years down the road of refinishing again because paint doesn't last forever. Something that is a acrylic material that also is white, could be high gloss or not white high gloss. You can wash it forever. And all you need is a rag, is a little schwitz with some Windex and it comes clean right away. So according to the family's needs and according to the look that they want to achieve, we suggest the best material for that project.
That's such a thoughtful process. It really feels customized from the ground up. Are there any features or techniques you use that people don't notice right away, but really appreciate later on? By the way, this is the most favorite question in the interview. So I'm really curious about this.
Not so much in the sense that when a client comes to us, I believe in total education and total transparency. So there's very little that we would do that later on they would say, you know, they wouldn't ask me why, or they would assume that that's what they're getting because when they come into it's not just a showroom where they're seeing imaginary cabinets on a computer screen. When a client wants a Lazy Susan, I take them into the shop and I show them a live Lazy Susan that we're manufacturing at the time or double garbage pullout or whatever. And they get to see the machinery. They get to see the way things are built. They're watching my guys, building things. I do it, of course, faithfully. We have a large space. I'll ask the guys to stop cutting while we're going through with the client. We have great dust control and no one's going to get hurt. But, it's not like going into a car mechanic where they stop you and say, you can't come past this line because of our insurance laws. I will stop everybody's production, take a client on a complete tour, and they will see everything that they're going to be getting. That being said, I still like to surprise customers with little extras so that if I see that there's something that would be really, really applicable, there's some extra space somewhere and I have a space to put in, let's say above a garbage drawer. If I have some extra space and I can do another little pull-out drawer for them to put their garbage bags in, I'll do it without asking them. I mean, and they'll be very, oh, wow, I didn't know you were going to do that. But generally, we're building according to design, especially with a designer. We don't want to go against their plan. If there's a little something extra that I can see that will be helpful, I'll do it.
Oh, perfect. That's so sweet. And I'm sure by the time goes, they are exploring all of that advantages, what they got. And when it comes to installation and experience, what should customers expect during installation? And what do you do to make that experience smoother?
Well, even before the installation, we, of course, are licensed and have insurance and workman's compensation. So if we're going into a home, that's not as much of an issue, although we do provide with our insurance so they know that anything ever happens, they are covered. In condominiums, we have to supply the building with our certificate of insurance and give them all the information. Everything that arrives is going to be wrapped, is going to be labeled. We build our cabinets, we build a complete project in the shop before we deliver it. So I do have a lot of clients that are snowbirds from New York, from Chicago, from Toronto, and they aren't always here while the renovation is going on. So we will constantly be taking photos of the work as it progresses. There are several advantages to that. They will see what they're getting so that there's no misunderstanding later. Even though we do full 3D renderings of the kitchen, people like to see the actual cabinets. And it also keeps the customer engaged and very excited about what they're going to be getting. So that's pre-installation. And our delivery is done with our own trucks. My guys are totally experienced handling freight elevators, we cover the hallways with plastic or cardboard. And then when we get to the client's house, again, everything is protected and with total respect for the client's scenario, whenever their apartment looks like. Usually it's an empty space because we're often doing complete renovations. But if the rest of the house is already furnished, we will tape off the walls and only work in the area that we're in. And my guys know to be respectful in a client's house. And if they very often while we're installing, the clients have lots of questions. They see a cabinet that doesn't have a finished end and right away say, is it going to look like that? We explain to them, no, there's an added panel going on there. What you're looking at right now is just a raw cabinet without a finish on one side. They'll look at the doors and say, but the doors are level. I say, don't worry. They'll say, don't worry. Once it's installed, we have adjustable legs and then we have hinges that can be adjusted. Everything will be perfect. And they're trained to be able to discuss that with the client. I can't be at every installation. And they're trained to be able to discuss that with the client and make them and that they should be relaxed and feel comfortable.
Oh, perfect. I loved it. They are so all excited and curious, but that sounds so professional. And my next question is, do you build everything in advance or do you sometimes adjust things on site?
We built everything in advance. I It has happened, nobody's perfect. We suddenly realized we are oversized by 2 inches. While my guys are installing, it might only happen to one cabinet. While my guys are installing, one of the guys will put it back in the truck, drive it back. All of our stuff is very modern and easy to take apart and modify. So if we have to cut something down, we do it, come back and put it back in. The customer will never know there was a mistake. But these things happen rarely. We do go on site before anything is built to get critical measurements. If there's no drywall yet in a new construction, we take off the width of the drywall plus a space, a room for spacer. We also are very careful about marking all the walls on the location where every cabinet is going, along with where we want all the electrical components to be. So if there's an outlet behind a microwave drawers, which are built into the base cabinet, basically have a space for an outlet on the left-hand side near the top of the microwave. We will mark that on the wall. We will also speak to the electrician, provide them with our drawings and with all the explanations of where we need anything. We will check where the plumbing is. Is the plumbing in the right place? Did the plumber follow our directions? Most of the time it's fine. Sometimes the plumbing ends up on being on the wall between two cabinets. Before we get there, we want to know that, and so that they can do the adjustment. Otherwise, we're going to get there and I'm going to have to send my guys back to the shop because they can't work. So the integration of everything requires all the trades to be working from the same page, which is our drawing or the designer's drawing. Everybody's got to follow the same directions or we're all over the place.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. And are there any behind the scenes quality control steps you take that customers might not see?
Oh, sure. I mean, the whole shop is based on quality control. Every step we have documented, and each person signs off on what they did. The general rule and principle that should be in every cabinet shop is don't pass something on to the next guy. So if something's being cut and there's a chip, well, cut a new piece. Don't pass it on to the next guy. Let him build a cabinet. And after the cabinet's built, somebody says, oh, wait a minute, there's a chip inside. Now you got to take the cabinet apart. So things like that are each person's responsible for their steps, and they are responsible to sign off on those steps before they pass it on to the next person. So the quality control is essential to be able to build properly. Even when we receive materials, when materials come in, we have a purchase order that we make to our vendor. And I always tape on samples of those materials onto the purchase order. So when the shipment arrives in our factory, whether it's laminate materials or whether it's a veneer, when my guys get the shipment, they take a look at the purchase order, they look at the color, they look at the color of my sample, and they know they're building the right thing. Otherwise, they could get something, not realize the color, build it, and then say, then it gets to the client, and the client says, that's not the color I ordered. And everybody's shocked, right?
Huh.
We have to be checked all along the way.
Yeah, so it's all about that teamwork and step by step controls.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. And this will be our last topic, post project trust and support. Once a project is finished, how do you handle service or follow up if someone needs a tweak or adjustment?
That is something that we are always ready to do. We know may not be able to do it the same day, but we'll certainly do it within a week or sometime sooner. It kind of depends where we're working, which neighborhood. If we are happen to be doing a lot of installations in bulk, we are a small shop. So I have two crews that do installations. They're the same guys. We do everything ourselves. So if they're really, really booked up, unless it's something dangerous, of course, if something's actually loose, then I'll go myself right away and take care of it. I only have my car, but in the back of my car, I have screwdrivers and electric drill and, things that I need for adjustments. Adjustments and service are part of any manufactured product. Nobody buys a car and never goes to their dealer for service. And when they're there for their service, they might say, oh, could you take a look at this? By the way, there's something not right there, right? Something is rubbing, whatever. And then, of course, it's also the garage's responsibility in that case to also tell you, great, this car is fantastic. Your tires are getting worn out. Time for new tires. So we have the same situation. Doors open and close. We do use hardware that is all clip on and as opposed to just put on with screws. So they automatically lock in place. But over time, adjustments are necessary. So if it's something that we've done that is incorrect, I'll send somebody over for a service call at no charge. If it's something that they did wrong, which can happen, can have a large family and a couple of kids hanging on a door and swing and break something, then we charge them for it. But generally, we're, as a matter of fact, with House, we've won Best of House every year since 2013 up until this year. And our award is always for service. The people who remark on Google or remark on House, who give us reviews, always do add. And I tell them, don't be afraid to say something. You know, if there's something that you saw and you're not happy, then say, that Mr. Morantz proudly corrected that, right? Because nobody's perfect. So service is part of the job, like anything else. The time frame can depend on what the project is, and but generally, I don't consider my time limits on service. As long as the person needs me, we'll be there. If it's a really long time, there'll be a service charge for the work. If it's not, we'll just fix it the way it's supposed to be done.
That's such a reassuring approach. It really shows long term commitment.
Yeah.
And next question, what do you hear most often from your clients after a project is complete?
Well, basically, really depends on the client. There are some clients that you never hear from again. There are clients that send lovely notes. It sometimes happens that they'll give my nice tips and that was saying we were so happy with the work. I do always ask for a review afterwards because that is integral to my business, whether it's a Google review or whether it's a house review. And generally speaking, people are usually pretty amenable and they're more than happy to do it. If a customer's really, really happy, they'll do it. Sometimes customers don't really care. They're really, really happy, but they're busy. So to get them to give a review is sometimes like pulling teeth. But I try to give them incentives to do it. And usually people do, but I've probably done hundreds of jobs since I've been here the past 20 years since opening up here. And I don't have anywhere near that many reviews. People do tend to go on with their lives afterwards. But I do have a lot of people that I meet within my community, within the religious Jewish community, who I'll meet later on in a store, in a bakery, in a butcher shop, and they'll say, by the way, I'm really, really, still really, really happy with the kitchen or with the wall unit or with the closets. So we get pretty good feedback.
That's so sweet. And last question is for someone just starting to think about custom cabinetry, what one piece of advice would you give to them?
My first piece of advice is do your due diligence. Find the first person, of course, that they're going to have to find is generally a contractor. If it's a complete home renovation or the contractor for the kitchen, they're certainly always welcome to come see me first for the cabinets. And my main goal is to get them into the showroom. Come see what we've got. Come see what we can offer you. And that right away puts us in a situation of discussion. So, and then of course, that does help them a bit with their budget. They have to, of course, before they start thinking of a renovation, are they ready for that budget? Sometimes housewife calls me or the husband calls me and says, we want to do this renovation. And later on, the husband says, too much money and they don't do it. So, it depends on that. But the person obviously has to know what they want, how they want to start, how they want to proceed. And then they look to the professionals, whether it's the contractor, the architect, or myself, the cabinet maker, the countertop people, to get all of the particulars that they need.
Amazing. These were my questions for today. Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add or share with the people who might be watching or listening?
I think that, the main thing is to do your due diligence, be ask as many questions as you want. No question is a bad question. I'm always surprised by questions people ask. I'm always happy to show them, explain what the answers that I know are and show them the product. Look, just like anything else, an educated customer is always the best customer because they are not surprised later and they know the steps that they have to take to get to where they want to go.
Thank you so much, Harold. It's been a
Right.
real pleasure to hear your story and your process and everything. It's clear how much care and passion you bring to every detail. Thanks again for being part of this session. We look forward to seeing more of the incredible work coming out of Morantz Custom Cabinetry.
Thank you.
Take care and
Nice
see you
speaking.
soon.
Be well, Bella. Bye bye.